come in. But let me remind you, this isn't a nice place. Not a nice place at all.
You are Mrs. Everard? Mrs. Margaret Everard? Wife to Alan Everard? You are here today for harbouring a thief. The thief in question being your son, Robert Everard. Is that correct?
No, my lord.
No?
He is not a thief to me.
Mrs. Everard, the only reason your son has not been brought to rights is that he ran away. But when he is found and caught, he will stand where you stand today. Let Mrs. Everard's words on her son be noted by the jury. Now, when did you last see your son?
I see him every day.
Mrs. Everard, I'm finding it very difficult to have any patience with your current situation. Make it easier on yourself and tell the court the truth.
I see him in my mind's eye.
Mind's eye?
You see, that's where I've been hiding him. To keep him safe from men like you and places like this.
Members of the jury, you will ignore the babblings of this insane woman. This woman is nothing but mad. There isn't anything in her head but mad ideas and insane thoughts.
I am no more insane than you are. The idea of a mother staying away from her son because he has been abandoned by a life he used to love is a mad idea in itself.
Ah, Mrs. Everard, so glad you could join us in court. Now we've got all the games and fun out of the way, we can get on with the proceedings. Mrs. Everard, you are here today because you've been seen by several people within the precincts of Burr placing a basket of food and wine at the same place every day for the last 3 weeks. Why? Feeding the birds? Looking after the woodland creatures?
I was feeding my son.
So you confess to aiding your son?
I only confess to feeding my son.
And the small matter of him being a thief and an outlaw just happened to slip your mind?
He is not a thief to me. He is only my son, nothing else.
Whoa. I mean, let me get this straight. So, basically, you helped a convicted criminal, i.e. your son. I mean, that's dangerous. You should be locked away. And oh, look who we've got here. Mr. Lord. Mr. Lordy. So basically, this one man, this one person gets to choose whether this woman lives or dies. And before 1275, they didn't even have a jury. It was just this one man. I mean, there's cases where someone had to eat a dry cracker, and if they choked on the cracker, well, they were guilty. You know, this one man has to make an important decision, whether this woman lives or dies. Remember, Lordy, her life is in your hands.
Mrs. Everard, you should know better than anybody else that you cannot aid and abet an outlaw. You're at this court in Lincoln today because you happen to be married to Alan Everard, the Burr of Wainfleet.
It doesn't matter if I'm married to a lord or a mere peasant.
Do you think that this gave you permission to act in the manner that you have?
No, my lord. If my son needs my aid, it is a mother's duty to be always there for him. A mother's job is to keep her offspring safe. When does that expectation stop? When a child is misled by the devil? It doesn't matter if that child grows up to be a beggar or a lord, a saint or a sinner. That child will always be a son to his mother.
Mrs. Everard, your commitment to your child and your responsibilities as a mother have been clearly demonstrated to the court. You clearly love your son, and you have broken the law in order to try and keep him safe. Unfortunately, Your responsibilities of being a mother crossed the boundaries of being a lawful citizen. You have broken the law, Mrs. Everard. Your son is wanted for theft, and you did nothing more than help him escape his prosecution. This is why the court finds you guilty of harbouring a thief. Your sentence is death by hanging. May God judge you as he pleases.
Be a good mum. What are you doing? She's just being a mum, for God's sake. She's just protecting her son. You can't do this. Come on. Mrs. Everard's been dead for 2 days now, but it's her time to rise again.